Good day everyone, in this video we're going to be talking about conditional rendering. Conditional rendering is a way of rendering components on screen based on conditions. Okay, that's a secular definition. But what this means is that you can tell the computer if something is true, render this, else show this. So what by rendering is what I mean. So right now what is being rendered in the DOM is a component called home. Right now, so if we go to our browser, we can see that we say home page. Then this button is supposed to render the project. So if we click on this, a new page should be rendered on screen, but right now that doesn't work. So we can also do we can also render the project. So I'm sure what the project looks like, the project components. So if we render the project component and we go to the home page, okay, you can see that there's a different component. Now this project, go to home. So what we want to do now is make that dynamic instead of us typing it down here. So you can see that I have some states set up, right? And obviously we have the component, project, and home defined here, which is just an H1 and a button with their respective styles, which is using CSS Flexbox, centering them and everything. So that's pretty straightforward. So what we can do now is, okay, let me show you how a few ways you can conditionally render things on screen. So we can remove this entire return statement and replace it with an if else statement inside the set of curly braces. So we can do if let's say is home. If is home, then we can return home. So we can then return the component home. Then we can say else we can then return projects. So all this will do is that if is home is true, that's what this means. You can also say if is home is equals to true, but still the same. So you can just put if is home is true, return the home, else return projects. So let me show you what this will do. If we go back to our browser, home will be displayed here. But the moment we change this home here to false, mean that it is something else. So if we change it to false, for instance, and we go back, we notice that project is rendered. So what this means is that we're conditionally rendering components based on a particular state. That is, this is home. If you notice, this project is not used at all. So to use this project, we can just make this an if else statement right here. Then you can put is project in there. So in this case, even if is home is false, nothing will be rendered in the DOM. It's just be white, based on both of the states are false. So if we put this is project to true, if we change it to true and go to our website, we can see that its project is rendered. So an easier way to do this instead of writing an if else block is through this way. So what we can do is that we can do this, right? We have a set of braces here. Let me do this instead. Okay, we have a set of braces. What we can now do here is we can do is home, put a question mark, then write the home components. Then if his home is false, you can now write projects. And then render projects. So what this means is that what we render now, it does not matter if his project is there. If we comment this out and we save, if we go to our projects, so another way of writing what we wrote before was, now what we'll do is we return a div, right? And inside that div we conditionally render home or project based on this. So if is home is true, what this means is that if is home is true, as question mark, return home. colon, then this colon means else return project. So if we change this to false, if we change that to false, you can see that project is rendered in the DOM. So that to make it in such a way that both components are not relying on the same state, we can uncomment this state, right? And right here, what we'll do is I will return null. What null means is that don't return anything, just leave it blank. Don't return anything at all. That's what null means, right? And we can then copy this line and paste it. We can then copy and paste it. Then instead of is home, we can do is project. Then return the project. So what this does is that if one is true and the other one is false, return it. But what happens if both of them are true? What happens is that it renders both. It simply renders the both of them, as you can see, one on top of each other. So now what we can now do is use these states to define something. So what I'll do is change this to false. So changing that to false, we can now put on clicks on home and projects, like on click function. So what we can do now is you can put an on click on this on click event, right? And putting an on click on this, you can now do home handler. These are functions that will be defined later. Now to save time, I'm just going to copy and paste. I'm going to call this project handler. Project handler. So we can then create the functions up here. Const equals to home handler, which is a sorry, made a mistake. Home handler is equals to an anonymous function, right? And this anonymous function, all it's going to do is set is home to true. And just in case the other one too is true, that is project, I'm going to set this project to false. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it down here, call this project handler, and I'm going to do the exact opposite. So what that means is I'm going to put this to false. Sorry. I'm going to change this to false, then change this to true. So the code I just wrote down, what it does is that it dynamically changes the states, our two states here, based on what we want when we click the buttons. So when we click this on home, when we click on this home component, right, when we click on this home component, it changes it, and when we click on this, it also changes it. So what we can do now is, right here, we go to project and we click on any part of this home. Sorry, we click. The problem is not working. Let's check our debug, our console, see what's wrong. And there's no error in our console. So what could be the problem? Okay, I've seen the problem. This should be changed to false, right? And this should be true, then here should be true, right? And this down here should be false. Okay, so what I mean is when you click on the home component, it sets its home to false, removing this is home component, and it puts its project to true. Then when you're on the project component, as project is rendered, we click on the project component, it now sets its home to true, rendering is home because of is when its home is true, it renders home, then sets its project to false. So what that does is when we click on this, it doesn't even work. Oh, there's a problem again. And I don't know what the problem is. Okay. See, one thing about code is being able to debug. I think the problem is that we're putting the clicks on the entire page or the entire component instead of on the button. So what we can do is we can go to this button, right, and give it an on click. And we can pass it through props. So what we'll write is props dot on click right, props dot on click. We go to our project where the button is rendered. Also put props, give it an on click. Props dot on click. Go to this home also, the exact same thing, on click, props dot on click. So props is not defined. Okay, so we have to give it props as an argument to the function. So with all that being done, this should work. Refreshing the page, we click on this, it goes to projects, we click on this, it goes to home. So what I just did was this. The problem was that I gave our components, our two components, home and project and on click, and they were not defined, meaning that home and project did not have anything called on click. So in order to define them, I had to go to where they were made and define them, which is right here, give the button an on click, but pass this button down to where the button is actually, and pass down this props dot on click. So it now gives it an attribute. If you have not watched my video on props, you should go back and watch it. If you've watched it, this should be second nature to you by now. So that is how you conditionally render components. As I said before, this home component is only rendered when its home is true, and this project component is only rendered when its project is true. And this handlers, the home handler and the project handler, the home handler, right, what it does is that it sets its home to false, right, removing this home handler from the browser. Sorry, removing this home component, rather this home component from the browser, because when its home is false, home component is not rendered. Then it sets its project to true. This is project right here, sets it to true, which is here. Then since this is true, it renders this project, and vice versa. So when you click on this, it goes to the home. When you click on this, it goes to the project. So I can do this all day. So that is how to conditionally render components. It's really nice when you want to render components based on some conditions. So for instance, you can create a custom hook that checks the width of the browser, and based on a particular width render something differently for responsive design. Another way to handle responsive design. Maybe I'll make another video explaining that whole concept. So that's been it from me. Till next time. Bye.